Are we all here who are needing to be here?
Appears so.
Good. Well, welcome, Rick.
Thank you very kindly.
Yeah. Good to see you. Good to see you, Bob and Terry. Hope everybody had a good weekend.
Yes.
Definitely.
Well, it being 5:30, we will call the meeting of the Shelburne Selectboard on May 22nd to order. And we are being recorded, so we're ready to roll. Have you all had a chance to review the minutes of the last meeting?
Yes.
I did sit through the meeting in its entirety, and I have read them again, but not having been officially there, I think I should abstain if I'm not incorrect. So
Yeah.
It's up to you guys now.
Okay.
That's it. I think that's valid, Rick.
So, Bob?
With that said, I found him in good order and move that we accept him as presented.
I will second the motion. And is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call to a vote. All in favor, Bob?
Aye.
Andrew is aye. Rick?
Abstain.
And the motion carries with one abstention. And we are, whoops, let me get back to my agenda here. And we are on to department liaison reports. Bob.
So the highway department have been up to several different things. They started grading and doing spring and summer maintenance on the roads. You may have noticed a barrel and cone in the southbound travel lane of South Maple Street. When the water department was flushing hydrants last week, all of a sudden water came up bubbling through the road. And there's a drainage issue that they're going to have to address. They've looked at it. They understand where it's coming from. So they were going to work on it, but there was a drainage problem. So it looked like a water main break, but it turned out it wasn't. It was just a culvert or something that runs under the road that was the result of the geyser. Well, I don't know if it was a geyser, but bubbling up. So that's that. Our truck that we ordered last year may begin to be built on May 30th. We've been poking them about that. We still have not received our new chipper. Last it was still sitting in Michigan, or they are paying somebody to walk it out here rather than drive it out. So a couple of other important news coming up. On or about June 1st or 2nd, they will be paving Peckville Road and Roberts School Road, as well as that area down just past Coffee Roasters, that little pull off. They'll be in that area working. It's not a full reclaiming, it's an overlay of the road. That then they're going to go from Route 2, and they're going to, I believe they're going to try to pull up to somewhere around Apex Orchard. So there'll be, it will be a nice surface. I mean, that road is a wonderful road for people going out to the orchard and the West County Winery. But so those are the couple of the big things. Other than that, we're status quo, poking along.
Great, thank you, Bob. Terry, do you have updates on Town Hall?
I have no news on the elevator. The last time I spoke to United Elevator, they were going to have an electrician come in first and do some work on the panel before they could actually start the repair of the elevator. So I'm waiting on that. The construction crew for Bridge Street Phase 2 is at a standstill as they wait for the paving company to have the availability to come in, and they'll be reclaiming the road and paving toward the end of this month, paving around June 1st, June 2nd. And as far as town hall, we're just playing catch up after town meeting and getting ready to put the budget to bed between now and June 30th. And there'll be a few transfers on budgets that have overruns, but I'll present those to you probably at our next meeting. And that's it.
Great. And in terms of the paving, how far beyond that will the project continue? Is there more work to be done in terms of trees and sidewalks and things like that?
Oh, yes. Once the paving's done, they'll work on the sidewalks and the trees. The trees will wait until fall to put in because will be a better season for them to acclimate. But yes, there's still quite a bit of work left to do.
Okay. Yeah, no, I was just curious about the endpoint in terms of the business district and their summer season and all that sort of thing. But do you have any sense of, has the timeline on track, or is it moving, or?
The timeline, the contractor still hopes to be out by the end of June.
Okay.
They ran into a lot of problems with the sewer portion of the project, and then the additional sewer work on Main Street was a day or two more than they had anticipated, but and then of course lots of rain in between, but they are fairly confident they'll be out of here by the end of June.
Great.
And then come back in the fall for tree planting.
Fantastic. And Rick, just FYI, Margaret, your predecessor's town liaison projects were the senior center and the library. So those are currently unliaisoned in the transition period. And we do have some minutes from the library that we'll go over later on. Anything, Terry, from the senior center that we should know about?
No, I think she's
Okay.
in the process of applying for another big grant. But I haven't really had a chance to catch up with Julie to get an update for purpose of this meeting.
Great. And as far as my liaison reporting goes, I have Greg, as you can see from your packet, has been busy with the transition to a joint police department, or an enlarged Shelburne Police Department. We have to come up with the right terminology here for our new structure. And we'll be talking more about those positions he's requesting advertising on later in the agenda. I don't have other things to report on for police liaison. I did meet with the village task force on the 18th, and they are beginning to, I guess there's a transition to this other, Terry, remind me what the name of the new grant is that the FERCOG is working on.
It would be the Mass Cultural Facilities Fund grant. Is that what you're referring to? The one that we met?
The 4-town grant, is that what that is? Okay.
Yes, that was a Mass Cultural grant.
Okay, so that will provide some consultant staffing that will continue a focus on kind of downtown revitalization, but within the context of a 4-town grant project with some of our neighboring communities in Greenfield and Montague, and I forget the other one. Is it Irving?
Buckland, Shelburne, Greenfield, and Turners.
Oh, okay, that's it. Those are the 4. So we got 2 of the 4 in our neck of the woods. And still casting around for funding sources for the shelburnefalls.com website revitalization project. And we will be, I think, hearing more from Whit Sanford about her Pocket Park project on the Buckland side. and from me about the Pocket Park project on the Shelburne side, which are also priorities recognized by the village task force. And then I did meet with the Energy Committee this past Thursday. We have a few items on the agenda on that regard. One piece of good news, John Walsh, local resident on Main Street, is kind of our oversight person on the installation of the heat pumps in Cowell Gym, which is funded by a Green Communities grant that we received this year. And John reports that project should be completed by about the middle of June or so. So good news there. Less good news on the pole barn, but we'll get to that later on. And let's see, we're at 5:40, so our appointment is at 6 o'clock for liquor license hearings, and we will rip through the old business while we're waiting for 6 o'clock. Streetlights have been tabled until August 1st. The Energy Committee did discuss the streetlight project and sort of outlined the further research needed to continue to move forward with a more detailed proposal for how the town might, if it chooses to, take ownership of the streetlights and manage them ourselves. So we'll see where they go with that. They have received a preliminary proposal from a company that does that for a number of towns. I think it's called Real Term. Was it Real Term Energy? What was the name of it, Terry?
I don't have that information.
Oh, you don't have that in
with
front of
me
you?
this evening now.
Okay, so they have given us sort of an outline for how they contract with communities to do the maintenance and installation in place of Eversource. So apparently there are people in that business. The Pocket Park project. Let's see, we have sort of two items on that. I'm going to be talking about the Commonwealth Spaces grant application for the Pocket Park, which is kind of the main component of it at this point, since we have paused on the installation of the pavilion until next fall, and returned the picnic benches to the position they were in before. So the Pocket Park is now kind of back to where it was last September in terms of its look and functionality. It's a green grassy area with 4 picnic benches on it at the moment.
They were being used today, a lot of people downtown.
Yes. Rick, you had mentioned kind of your take on the Pocket Park. Do you have any comments or questions at this point on it?
No.
Okay. Bob, any thoughts on that, or do you want me to?
I saw your design.
Yeah.
The only question I had is showing the cement tree wells. And I know there was some issue or concerns from the actual property owners about them. So I don't know if that's the
that is not the final picture. In
Okay.
fact, that we should consider that design sketch sort of just a conversation starter and as a
Okay.
way to both well, in my view, both to get a funding application in by the deadline, and
All right.
then begin the process of public engagement and holding public hearings. I did have a long conversation with Josh, who, I think if any tree wells go in, there would be fewer than the ones there are now. I then followed up with a long conversation with Brock Cutting, who's a local retired landscape designer and member of our tree committee. Brock gave me further reasons why the tree wells might not be a good idea. So my concept of the tree wells has scaled back quite considerably. I still have a sort of more aesthetic concept, possible brainstorm for how to use them more as structural elements than as tree wells. And I can go into that more later, but that may or may not pan out as well. My brainstorm involves cutting them in half and using them more as in a similar fashion to the way the Jersey berries are being used now, more as a bank stabilizer and seating element, and not so much a container for trees. Because I've been schooled on young trees and root binding and the hazards of trying to get trees out of tree wells once you put them in there and stuff. So there's a lot of complications that we have now kind of talked our way through with that. And so I think that piece of the design, the other thing that was a kind of news to me was that Josh seemed very open and friendly to the idea of simply planting trees on the site. So that had not been something I thought was going to be a possibility, given that we have it only as leased land, but he seems okay with that concept. And you know, and from his point of view, if they were to take the land back and use it for something else, they would just remove the trees. So that's a little opener on the you know, the many twists and turns I think this project will take as it moves forward. But I'll give you more of that when we get to the Commonwealth Spaces grant application.
Okay.
And I have met with a number of contractors in putting together that application, including Brock Cutting about trees, Josh Simpson about tree wells, Dick Hillman about path grading, and several people about gardens on the site, and Johanna Pratt from Ashfield Stone about potentially putting stone benches on top of those Jersey barriers for seating. So there's a number of different components, but we're sort of assembling rough costs now for a grant application. Nothing further on the senior services district.
So far, no one has stepped up from Buckland or Ashfield to serve in this capacity, and kind of makes me wish that in the agreement that if no one was willing to serve, that I don't know what their expectations are and how long this will go on. But until someone steps up and creates a format for this new district, they will remain as Shelburne employees, which is fine.
Yeah, it seems like that's the default until something changes, that all we have right now is a kind of paper structure that the legislature has given approval to exist. And it only exists in theory until people come forward and inhabit it, I guess. All right, so we'll see where that goes. And as far as Shelburne representatives, we do have some interest.
We do. We have two individuals interested in serving.
Okay. Relocation of the Veterans Memorial at BSC, or it's currently at BSC. And you all saw the note in the Arms Library minutes showing that they are friendly to receiving the memorial and placing it on the Main Street side of the building. I don't know that that's anything that we need to take any action on, since that's their building, right?
Well, no, I mean, I think it would be we just would have to decide whether that's where we'd like it to go. And then figure it out how to get there. And the more I've thought about it in regards to what the veterans' preference is and wanting to have it somewhere along the parade route, now I think that's about one of the best locations you can have it at. So I think we would have to be like the facilitator to make it happen. It's just so for action needed. I think that's something we as a board have to decide. One, if that's where it should go, and two, how to get it there.
Three,
Okay,
how to pay
no, I
for
was
it.
just, I'm sorry, go ahead, Rick.
Would 3 be and how to pay for it?
We'll pay for the moving of it, yeah.
Oh, yeah. The
Yeah.
stone itself is over 3,000 pounds. The footing under it is going to be another grand, so it's 2 tons. That's quite the structure, so it's something that a professional is going to need to move. So
Right.
having that number, I think there was somebody had reached out already, perhaps, to solicit some pricings, and local people didn't respond or have interest, I think I heard, and then somebody was waiting on Negus and Taylor
Yes.
for a figure. Okay, but we haven't got anything.
No, we haven't.
Okay.
And Terry, just so I can be clear on this, is this a select board decision in terms of the placement of it, or is this a library decision?
The select board was approached about finding a suitable location, and in the process of looking at town-owned properties, the library offered their land. So if the board is agreeable to having it placed there and we can do it, you know, the second part of that would be getting a price and then finding how to pay for the move. But it would be nice to have a vote of a board contingent upon finding a vendor to move it and finding the funds to facilitate the move would be ideal.
Yeah. Well, your
That makes-
thoughts,
Makes
gentlemen?
total sense to me. Should we put that in the form of a motion and just get it done?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask for a motion to see if somebody wanted to make a motion to that effect.
I would support that. Motion is couched by Terry to voice our approval of that location and pending the ability or pending finding the pricing and the person to be able to move it.
Bob?
I will second that.
All right, is there discussion? No thoughts or questions?
It's a perfect spot for it.
Yeah, my only concern with the spot where the bicycle racks are is I think that's the one place you could put a bus shelter. And I know the library has not been keen on the idea of a bus shelter, but given that that's main intersection is where the bus stops, that is probably the only place you could put a bus shelter. So I would be sad to see that possibility become paved over by a memorial, but if the memorial were to the left of that, you could still potentially do both things. But I don't know if that's a conversation the library wants to engage in or if we do.
I don't think that's a spot for a bus station myself. The structure is very city-like, doesn't fit in the character of the town. I think if a shelter type location or structure is needed, that's not the place for it at the head of our main street, our main drag, be it Bridge and Main. There's got to be another place.
Well, we'd have to have another bus stop, yeah.
Well, they stopped, well, maybe it was because of construction, but I've seen them recently stopped further towards Coleraine, picking people up and dropping them off. I thought there was a a signpost that said bus
We-
on it too. But
Yeah, we temporarily relocated the bus stop during the construction to be picked up at the corner of Cross and Main.
okay, so
We
previously it
relocated a
was,
bench there.
previously it was at the library then. Is that
I
right?
think people tend to wait on the benches in front of the bank or to the side of the bank for the bus.
Hmm.
At least that's been my experience when I see the bus.
Yes, that is the case.
Kind of off track from the original discussion. So,
No, only in that's the, speaking of the location of where the stone would go. That's the purpose of my comment.
Yeah.
Bob, any further discussion?
Nope.
All right, hearing none, we'll bring it to a vote. All in favor, Rick,
aye.
Bob,
Aye.
Andrew is aye, and the motion carries. And we are at 5. So, VFW Post, once again, Memorial Day Parade request. Have you had a chance to review their request for a parade permit?
Yes,
Yes.
I saw that Greg has signed off on it. And this is something that is important to the town and the community. So I move that we approve the parade request.
I second
There's-
that.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for a vote. All in favor, Bob,
Aye.
Rick,
Aye.
Andrew is aye, and the motion carries. And let's see if we have, do we have the folks here for our public hearing?
We do, but because it's a legal advertised
should wait
hearing, we
another
have to wait
2
till
minutes here?
6. Yes.
Okay, I'm just seeing what we can do here in 2 minutes. How about the food pantry services contract regarding the extension, request for extension and budget amendment? Have you had a chance to review the food pantry's request?
Yes, I have.
Yep.
Great. And extending
move-
to September 30th. And the budget being amended as shown with the same total expense amount. Bob,
I move that we approve the food pantry service request contract for extension and budget amendment.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, we'll bring it to a vote. All in favor, Rick,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
Andrew is aye, and the motion carries. And we are just about at 6 o'clock. Let's see. 5:59 and counting. And who do we have with us today for? We have Alice Lee, and who else is here for our public hearing?
I am Tom Whiteside, here to support Alice.
Okay. And is that it for the public hearing, or the Apex Orchard thing is a separate
That is separate.
Yes.
matter? Okay.
I'm
Um,
expecting a couple of more people, but we can get things started if you'd like.
Okay, I see
Someone-
some more people signing on. I don't know if those are the ones you were expecting.
Yeah,
Good.
here's Ryan.
And you have everybody here you were hoping to see, Alice?
I believe so.
Okay, well, it being 6 o'clock, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you so much for your time. My name is Alice. I've been running Delicatessen on 8 Bridge Street for 6 years now. It's kind of weird with COVID because you want to not count 2 years, but yes. So what we're requesting today is to extend our beer and wine license where we can, the area we were conserved. Last June, I had requested the use of the parking lot to be included in the beer and wine license, but that was denied because of complications about how if like beverages were to go on the street and then go back to the patio, that would have been was kind of complicated because alcohol is not allowed on the sidewalk. So the solution that we came up with is to use our window and turn it into a service window. And what that means is that we are not going to be going on the street at all. All transactions will be inside the building. And so once a person places an order for food and beverages, the server there'll be server inside and a server outside. So the server outside will bring all food and beverages to the customer. So all money transactions will be inside, and no food or drinks will be going on the sidewalk because the window goes directly back to the seating area, the outdoor seating area. Any questions so far about what I request?
Is the window on the side of the building or the back of the building?
They're on the side. So
On the
it's,
side, so facing the alleyway.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is there room for a is that alleyway still used by vehicular traffic, or is it a pedestrian alleyway now?
It is partially used when during the wintertime when it will be too cold for outdoor seating, but mostly right now people are just using it to enjoy the view, enjoy lunch. It's pretty much open. It's used currently for like takeout. We'll have takeout and then people are able to enjoy food outside there. And so one other thing I wanted to mention about this outdoor food area is that it's one side is facing the water, so it's like right on the river, and then 2 other sides are facing the VFW, and the other side is another building, which is 10 Bridge Street. And our landlords wonderfully built out this former parking lot and made it into like a garden space. So they have really high garden beds, so it's almost like completely enclosed. So it's, and any pockets that are not fully enclosed, we are going to have barriers with signs that clearly indicate no food or beverage beyond this point. So there's only really two areas that can come in and out. One way is the entrance of the alleyway, and then another is between the VFW and there's like a small, maybe like 6 to 6 foot space that needs to be, cut, roped off, and that'll have a sign. And other than that, it's just the river, so people aren't really able to move around other than that.
Yeah, no, I think the back patio is a great looking spot. My main thing that I'm just trying to confirm is that if there is this side window opening on the alley, that servers carrying beer or wine are not going to be interacting with vehicles, are they?
No, vehicles are not going to be coming in and out at all whatsoever.
Okay.
It's going to be, in fact, closed off as well, except for like space just enough to walk by.
Okay.
Mhm.
That was what I wanted.
Hi,
Sorry.
one of our flower beds is on wheels, so we roll it out across that driveway as a barrier during the summer.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is
Full of
this
the
activity
landlord.
only scheduled for the summertime, or what is the nature of your request in that regard?
It's just basically whenever the weather's nice. We're just asking the to extend, because right now we have the beer and wine license for indoors only, but we'd like for people to eat and enjoy some wine and beer, while watching the, looking at the Bridge of Flowers, the river is really beautiful. I don't know if you have seen the view from there, but it's absolutely beautiful. And then when the sun sets, it's like right around 6 o'clock. It gets really golden over on the lot. And so we're asking so that I'm basically trying to extend the area where I can be serving food and alcohol.
Right. No, I was just asking about the time period of when you would want to be doing this.
It would be full time, but I mean, obviously when it's like winter time, you wouldn't have people outside.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bob and Rick, do you have questions, thoughts, concerns?
Don't on that particular point, no.
No, coming from where we were last year, I think this is a creative idea
Mm-hmm.
and to have a workaround. And as long as there's an outside server, I think solves a lot of the problems rather than just allowing patrons to wander off on their own.
Exactly.
So that has helped a great deal in my support towards the concept.
Okay. Yeah. So a server will be there full time as long as it's open to it's accessible, and which also means that someone's going to be always, not only be serving but also making sure everything's clean and no one's like walking around. So it's like an extra pair of eyes as well.
And since you already have a beer and wine license, you have trained staff who are familiar with selling and managing the sale of alcohol.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah. Terry, do you have any questions or thoughts about this?
No, I did make a site visit, and I think it's a great way of accomplishing what Alice would like to do with that space. It will provide, I think, 20 extra seats.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as
Roughly.
the driveway is blocked off in the area of the window so that they can control who's coming and going, I believe it will meet ABCC's standards. And more than likely, once they receive the application, they'll send an investigator out to look at the site as well. But I
Okay.
feel comfortable with their proposal.
Great.
Can I ask Terry, if they send the inspector out, should we have the no food and beverages signs in place before they come? No food and beverages beyond this point. Like, should we get that ready?
Yes, yeah, I would definitely.
Mhm.
I'll
We
let
have those
Alice
already.
know once it's submitted, and depending upon how busy they are is when you'll expect someone to come out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we already bought the signs and we're ready to go. Because this is, I mean, it's starting to get warm, and this is really a crucial, I think, a really crucial part of trying to extend the business, especially because I've been closed for a while for maternity leave, and after COVID, it's been kind of trying to get back into normal business flow has been kind of difficult. So I think it's trying to first, instead of like trying to go back to doing things pre-pandemic, trying to like evolve a little bit and then branch out. I think this is a new, possibly easy way to kind of transition to a new type of business. So I hope that I've answered all your questions. Do you have any other questions about or concerns about using the space?
Any questions from the board? I hear no further questions. Terry?
Just to be clear, it's more than alteration of premise. They're changing the name too as part of this
Yes.
proposal, and the corporate structure as well. I just wanted to go on record, making sure the board was aware.
Yes, so I wanted to introduce you to my good friends Rachel and Roxanne, who are in this Zoom meeting as well. And we kind of got together because we all very recently had children, and we all are in the food and beverage industry for a very long time. And this new concept of trying to work together and figure out childcare together, it's like the solution is to kind of like share our labor and also share our childcare in a sense, and we're changing the name to Juice Box. So it's like a small space, and also because now our lives are covered by our children. So yeah, we're trying a new concept out. So instead of Delicatessen, it will be under Juice Box LLC. So it's part LLC, yeah.
Great. And just so while we're crossing all the T's and dotting all the I's, Alice, are you comfortable with the pronouns on the public hearing, or is that a typo?
Oh, I don't see any typos. You mean on the
public
document?
hearing notice says Alice Lee is seeking amendment to his on-premise all alcoholic beverages
Oh yeah,
liquor
I think that's a
license.
typo.
My apologies, Alice.
It's
I don't
okay.
think, I don't think the ABCC will hold that against us.
It's okay.
I'm
I
just
use all
doing
the
a pronoun check, Alice, that's all.
Appreciate it. I use all of them, so I didn't even
All right.
bother me. I was like, okay, no, I'll go with it.
All right. Well, if there's no further questions, is there a motion to approve these amendments to the Juice Box's liquor license, or soon to be Juice Box's liquor license?
Just to confirm,
Application.
the two, was it Appel and Roxanne?
Oh, Rachel.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
Rachel?
Rachel Crocker.
Oh, okay. That's not what you're, oh, Apple, maybe you're on an Apple device. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. You are the two that are change of ownership, so there'll be
Yeah.
3 now.
Yes.
Just to clarify that, okay,
Mhm.
then I'm good.
Great. Is there a motion?
Is there any public comment first before the
Oh,
motion?
well, I thought we could, either way, we can take the motion and then the public comment,
Okay.
or however we do it now. Is there additional public comment?
I'm the elder in the group, I think, by my gray beard. And I'm here to support Alice and Rachel and Roxanne. I've known Rachel, I've known, until I'm old, Alice for a while, and had the pleasure of getting to know her and Charles. I think they're very responsible people and highly creative people. So and I've recently met Rachel and Roxanne and Ryan, Rachel's partner. And I think they're well-intended and capable business people.
And Tom, are you speaking as a fellow owner or as a
No,
friend?
no,
Or...
I'm their most regular customer.
Oh, okay, good.
And I'm a local business person and recently retired pastor of the Plainfield Congregational Church.
All right.
He married my husband and I. He's a good friend of ours.
Great. Any other public comment?
Then I would move we approve this application.
Is
I
there
will
a
second that.
All right, the motion has been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? And hearing none, we'll bring it to a vote. All in favor, Rick?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Andrew is aye, and the motion carries. All right.
Thank you so much.
Go forth as Juice Box and prosper.
Thank you.
Good. Well, good luck. And
Thank you
hope
so
have
much
a
for
good
your
summer.
time. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
All right. All right. So we are back to, I guess we're to new business B, the Commonwealth Places grant application for the Pocket Park proposal. So just by way of preface, I have been, as I mentioned, in conversation with all these folks in preparation of this grant application, but I only found out about this funding opportunity fairly recently. So in that regard, I apologize for bringing it to you kind of at the last minute because the grant deadline is June 2nd. And as I learned about the Massachusetts State One Stop for Growth grant portal, which is now where they've consolidated a lot of their grant opportunities across many different purposes. That is now kind of has a single annual cycle that starts in December and ends in June with award notifications in September. So that's kind of how it works for a lot of, not all grants, but a lot of grants. So I thought, well, if we let this go by, it's going to be a whole nother year before we get to take a shot at this particular grant opportunity. And the Commonwealth Spaces matching grant program is actually very closely aligned with this kind of project. In fact, Whit Sanford, who is on the agenda a little farther down, to talk us about the pocket park on the Buckland side of the river, has already applied for and received a Commonwealth Spaces grant for that project. So that was one of the places where I really learned about this, and then learned that the deadline is coming up fast. So I initially reached out to FERCog to see if they were interested in writing the grant, and the deadline was a little too quick for them. So I jumped in and said I would give it a shot. And so I have drafted the narrative sections, which I sent out to you. And I'm now gathering the information to put the budget together. So that's why that has not yet been finished, is I'm still waiting for estimates from Dick Hillman and Johanna Pratt and some others to be able to put those numbers together. But the general shape is you can apply for up to $50,000 of Commonwealth Spaces state money. And if you're awarded it, you have to match it dollar for dollar. So if you apply for 50,000, you can then potentially do a $100,000 project, but you have to raise the match on the other side. So I am generally ballparking a $50,000 grant. We'll see where all the estimates come in. And I have proposed 3 funding sources to match it with. One is a cultural district grant, which we receive every year in Shelburne Falls. They're generally, I think, about $7,500. The pocket park on the other side gobbled up that money last year when it was a double year, actually. So they got $15,000 for that project. So I'm proposing that we bring the cultural district money over to this pocket park for this cycle, and maybe even the next one. And then the second funding source that I've proposed is ARPA funding, which is the federal COVID relief money that we've received. I think we have $29,000 left unexpended in ARPA funds. Am I correct about that, Terry?
Approximately, yes.
Right. So one of the reasons that I'm proposing use of ARPA funding is that we still don't know what's going to happen with the Bridge of Flowers project. They have a $2.3 million reconstruction project that they're developing their own timeline for. And when that's settled, they're going to remove all of the plantings on the bridge, I believe, or most of them, and need to find homes for them while that construction takes place. And I've been in conversation with them about having this park be a potential host site for some of those plants in the interim. And, you know, as a way for them to have a kind of garden presence in the center of town while the bridge is under reconstruction, as well as providing homes for those plants before they go back onto the bridge. So that's if that project begins in the fall, we won't have raised the match at that point, but ARPA funding is money that we could potentially use in the interim because we already have it in hand, essentially. So that's kind of a timing backstop there, depending, because there are many unknowns with how this is all going to unfold. We also will have the Franklin County Tech School students working on the pavilion in the fall. So there are some, a variety of moving pieces here that need to be coordinated together if this project moves forward. So that's the funding side. And then the proposal that I've put together, again, is essentially kind of a rough draft starting point for a more extensive public conversation. I've attached to you it as that design sketch. And this project, again, in sort of laying it out, the funding has to come first, but the funding takes a long time. This is a kind of hurry up and wait project where we have to meet this June 2nd deadline. But if we get the money, we won't know that until September. And then we have to match the money. And the other significant chunk of the match that I'm proposing is to use Community Preservation Act funding, which is a new source of local funding that will just be going into effect starting July 1st. We will be collecting our first year of Community Preservation Fund surcharge monies, and then the Community Preservation Committee in town will recommend projects to town meeting next May. So that's when we would potentially vote on whether or not to use $35,000 in matching funding from CPA for this grant. So those are the pieces of funding that would come together to make this $100,000 project. The components of the project that I'm researching include planting 7 trees on the site, developing raised bed gardens to create essentially a native pollinator perennial garden that would be a relatively low maintenance way to beautify the site. I had a long conversation with Kay Cafasso today. She is the gardener. She runs a business called Ecological Gardens, and she's the gardener who's currently maintaining our 2 small gardens down by the glacial potholes. So, she could potentially become the gardener for this site as well. Though that's something we would probably need to put out to public bid since this is a municipal project. But she has agreed to take a look at the site and to see how it might be landscaped in that fashion. I also met with Dick Hillman, who has done the landscaping on the front of the site, both to create the pad that the picnic benches are sitting on, and to install the precast concrete piers that are the foundation for the pavilion. One of the major things that would need to be done with the site, if we go forward with it as a full park, is to make it ADA handicap accessible throughout. And there I would hope to consult with Mike Collins, who is our Mike Edwards, who is our ADA consultant at the Collins Center, to see how we can design the park to be ADA compliant. This design sketch shows a ADA level 1 to 12 pitch pathway going from the Bridge Street side of the site all the way through to the back of the site. That would mean that the rear sloped portion of the site would also be wheelchair accessible. To do that, I'm proposing that we pick up the Jersey barriers that are down at the bottom of the site and create a 3rd tier of Jersey barriers that will create kind of a miniature amphitheater in the back of the site, and then create the possibility of having a level pathway on that middle section, so that the only really remaining grassy section would be right at the bottom of the site there, in front of the stage, and would make the park relatively low maintenance to maintain going forward. So it would not be imposing a big additional cost to the town. And then a kind of potential third stage project would be installing and constructing a small stage down at the bottom corner of the site, where Memorial Hall and Deerfield Avenue, for, you know, sort of informal music performances. That is yet another step in the process, in that we would need to go before the Zoning Board of Appeals to get a special permit to build a stage, because that would be considered an additional structure. We did that with the pavilion, and got their approval to do that after lengthy discussion. So that's, you know, may or may not happen. That would be another decision point that we as a board would make. So the proposal I'm bringing before you now is really just to get your authorization to proceed with submitting a grant proposal, but not so much that we need to debate or approve any one of these design elements, because there will be many opportunities over this next year, if this grant proposal goes forward, to refine the actual implementation plan and decide on the details. I envision, you know, a series of public hearings for that process that could begin even this summer, if that was the desire, or we could wait and see whether we get this matching grant in September and then start the process then. But the other public process that would require public hearings would be applying for Community Preservation Act funding, and we would need to hold public hearings to apply for that funding. So there's a lot of opportunities for public engagement and for debating the pros and cons of any one of these particular elements in the proposal, and, you know, voting them in or out as we kind of move that process along. So that's kind of how I'm envisioning the project. Just getting our oar in the water and signing up for this matching grant is kind of step one. If we don't apply, we can be 100% guaranteed that we won't get the money. But if we put our bid in, we have a shot at getting funded, and then we can talk about the details of what we want to do with the funding. So that's my general take. Questions?
Well presented, very comprehensive.
Thank you.
I have no problems with you pursuing funding sources. The more funding sources we can bring in, the less the town has to contribute, which is, it's a good project, but also outside money is better than inside money.
Yeah, that's generally what I'm in full agreement, Bob. I'm trying to do this with a very minimum of taxpayer dollars. Thoughts, Rick?
Good to go.
Terry?
No, I think it's a program, a funding pocket that's well worth pursuing.
Great. So is there a motion to authorize the select board to apply for this funding? The Commonwealth Spaces matching grant?
I move that we authorize the select board to apply for the Commonwealth Spaces grant for the purpose of the pocket park.
I second the motion.
That motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? And, hearing none, we'll call to a vote. All in favor, Bob?
Aye.
Rick?
Aye.
Andrew is aye, and the motion carries. Actually, I don't know. Should I vote for it, Terry, or should I abstain? Since I'm writing the grant.
You're a member of the board, so I don't see a need for you to abstain.
Okay. All right. Well, then I vote yes. And Terry, one of the components of the grant is we have to present a written documentation that we took this vote.
Okay.
So I can
I
get that.
will see if I can't get Faye to do a quick. I can either do an excerpt from the minutes or see if she can get the minutes typed sooner than later.
That would be great, yeah. Okay. So we are on to the pole barn installation bid. The bad news. Northern Construction gave us a bid for $175,000 on a $100,000 pole barn project. Terry, any thoughts on that?
Well, I'm going to recommend, Bob can speak to this, but I'm recommending that we reject this one bid.
Bob, do you
Yeah.
want to give us any further thoughts on where we might go next?
Both Mark and I have been dumbfounded with this entire process. Mark has done his due diligence in talking with local installers and construction companies who had, given us prices and seemed very, very interested in these projects. And we were extremely surprised that we only got one bid and its price. In addition, we don't have the funds available to cover that at present. We did learn that if we want to, we can use Chapter 90 monies for the construction of the pole barn. But again, that's would take away the majority of our Chapter 90 monies. We dumped it all into that one particular bid and leaving us with very, very limited ability to work on roads. So I do agree with Terry that we reject this bid and that we go out to bid again and see if we can drum up some more local business that may have missed it in the central registry and the scope of the project.
I saw in the letter or memo there about a half a dozen other bidders who were notified. Are they potential rebidders in a second round?
I'll give you an example of one. Perhaps some yes, some no. And some no is like Clayton Davenport Company took out or expressed an interest in looking at it. But you have to take out the whole application in order to see the scope of the work. And when they realized it was more building construction rather than grounds, road, that type of stuff, we don't do that.
Mhm.
So they wouldn't be part of any rebidding. So it's I guess it's just how the system works. So
And is there any, it seemed like a fairly simple erector set kind of deal with a kit that comes, right? Isn't that what it is?
For the most part, yes.
And so a company like, I saw Renaissance Builders was one of the companies there. It seems like that would be a kind of company that could do this project.
Definitely they could. Why they didn't? We're going to try to, we'll visit with Dole Brothers, the local folks, to see if we can say, hey, did you miss it? Is there just too much work and you guys can't do it? We're trying to find out why this happened. And Mark was chasing down folks last week at one point, actually going to their businesses to visit with them.
And assuming we do reject this offer or this bid, what would the timeline be for going back out again? Would FERCog help us with that, or is Terry Walker involved in this? How do we go out a second time?
The FERCog is ready to go again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Rick, do you have any questions or thoughts?
Yeah, I move we reject the bid.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? And hearing none, we'll call to a vote. All in favor, Rick?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Andrew is aye, and the bid is rejected. And good luck, Bob. I hope we can get this back on the right track.
Thanks for your work on it.
Yep, we're working on it.
All right, item D is Hitchcock Brewing Company regarding 4 one-day liquor license requests at Apex Orchards, August 26, 27, September 3 and 17. Have you all had a chance to review those?
Yes,
Yep.
Is there a motion to approve these one-day requests?
so moved.
Thank you. Second,
Motion made and seconded. We are now at discussion. Bob,
they ran this last year. I know they were talked about. Is that correct, Terry?
That is correct.
And we didn't seem to have any problems and or complaints about it. So I think it's a good way for them to bring people out for the local agriculture. I know this year's peach and apple crops are going to be kind of hard and slim due to the weather that we've had. So any additional ways we can help the local, local farms, it's always a good thing.
Terry, do we have any concerns around this that you know of?
Not at all. They're a
Okay.
licensed distributor through the Commonwealth and have a great reputation for partnering with groups for events like this.
Great. Rick, any concerns?
None whatsoever.
All right. Well, if there's no further discussion, we'll bring it to a vote. All in favor, Bob,
Aye.
Rick,
Aye.
Andrew is aye, and the motion carries. We've done the CDBG amendments. We're now at F, Heather Butler from the Buckland Town Administrator regarding the interim sewer district administrator vote. I think just to provide the small background, we did a check-in with the was it the State Ethics Commission regarding the potential for conflict of interest in her holding essentially 2 positions as town administrator and sewer commission administrator or sewer district administrator simultaneously. We got a ruling from the Ethics Commission that she could do those 2 things with a waiver from her town boards, Shelburne and Buckland select boards. So I believe that the town of Buckland has voted that already. Is that correct, Terry?
I believe so.
And so the matter has come before us as the Shelburne Select Board to approve
I have someone at the door. I'll be back in a second.
Okay, we'll wait for you.
Andrew, if I'm not mistaken, if this approval goes through, it would be on an interim basis until
Yes,
another person could be found.
right. Or, I mean, I think what we would be approving it for 1 year while we research the options, and then if there are no other options, I guess we would have to either go forward with further interim appointments or making it permanent if possible. I don't know what the next step would be in that regard, but I think we would need some time to explore whether there are other alternatives.
Okay.
So yes, I think, Bob, just to finish that preface, I think what we're looking at is a motion from the select board to approve Heather on a 1-year interim basis as the sewer district's interim administrator.
Yeah, I see no problem with that.
Okay, do you want to make that motion?
I move that we approve Heather Butler from the Buckland Town Administrator to hold the interim superintendent sewer district administrator under the small towns public office waiver thing
For a period of 1 year. Should we put that in the motion?
for a period of 1 year.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? If not, we'll bring it to a vote. All in favor, Rick,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
Andrew is aye, and the motion carries. And we are now at Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness Planning Grant regarding award of proposal. Is Tricia here to speak to this, or are we just going to go with? She is. Okay, let me open my screen here. Oh, there you are on the phone. Hi,
yes,
Tricia.
I'm on the phone. I'm at the softball game. Hi, everybody. How are you?
Great. Do you
Good,
want to
thank
give
you.
us the background on this?
Sure. So I sent out a request for bids for the MVP planning grant in the amount of $36,000, which we'd already received from the Commonwealth. They went out to a company called Fuss and O'Neill, Weston and Sampson, and to the FERCog. Terry and I reviewed all the proposals. I came up with a rubric to follow to sort of rank them. And based on the information in those proposals, also the reference from one of the towns, the town of Hull, that had used Weston and Sampson, I'd like to go ahead and accept the offer from Weston and Sampson. I sent an email earlier today to Terry regarding with the 5 reasons that set them apart specifically from the other 2 vendors. It was actually more of a contest between Fuss and O'Neill than anyone else. But the reason that I would like to use Weston and Sampson is their timeline. There's 5 reasons. The first one is the timeline. Their timeline's reasonable, includes a final report date of March 2024, which is well before the application for the MVP action grant is due in May of next year. And I had specifically asked in my original email for their bids that we would want to be able to apply for an action grant when the next cycle comes around, which will be in May of next year. To that end, Weston and Sampson offered for free to write our grant. So I'm sure that given what you're going through, especially Andrew with the Pocket Park, this is a really wonderful offer. They've done it for many of the towns that they've worked with. They did it for all of the towns that they worked with that received action grants in 2020 and 2022. Now, Fuss and O'Neill also has a great deal of experience with MVP projects, and their timeline was similar, but a little bit less specific. And they did not offer to complete the action grant application for us for free. They didn't mention that. They just said, yeah, you'll be ready in time. The third reason is the creativity that Weston and Sampson has exhibited in the ways that they've used to engage with the community in order to get the best and widest participation as possible. And always with any type of resilience project, it's really important to get as wide of a participation as possible from the community. And I was particularly concerned that, especially given some of the feedback that I've heard working on the newsletter and also at some select board meetings, that people are concerned that they didn't know about stuff that was going on. So I really wanted to make sure that whoever we selected thought outside of the box, instead of just like popping up a survey monkey survey and sending out a link and hoping for the best, that they engage in creative activities to get people to give their feedback. The fourth reason is the Weston and Sampson provided a list of references and not just a list of projects that I could review. All that stuff is available on the Commonwealth website. So this was really great that they were able to do that. Now, although I sent out a request to people, I only heard back from one person now. The town of Hull, who who said they had great success with the services from Weston and Sampson with their MVP project that they had actually tried to do twice before and they couldn't. And Weston and Sampson was able to make it work, make it happen, and they were flexible and could basically think on their feet and deal with whatever situation came up. And then the last reason is their experience. 80% of their business is with municipalities across Massachusetts, including some out here in the western part of the state. Savoy is one that immediately comes to mind. They've completed 28 MVP and 40 MVP action grants. That's more than anybody that I contacted, and they've also done 18 combination hazard mitigation plans and MVP projects. So by comparison, Fuss and O'Neill has done 27 planning and only 16 action grants. So it's like not even close in that regard. So those are my 5 reasons for selecting Weston and Sampson, and I would hope that you would say it's okay for us to go ahead and do that, because it's $36,000 we have. Somebody's got to get it, and they're going to give us, I think, more work for that money than anybody else.
Great. Questions or comments, Bob and Rick?
No, I think it was well presented, and I certainly have no qualms with awarding Weston and Sampson.
Great job, Trish. I agree with Bob.
Thank you.
Well done.
Yeah,
Thank you both.
Thank you. Yeah, I would just add that I think you and I were both on a climate action plan webinar in which they were pretty highly recommended by several towns who said they had good experiences working with them. So I'm in support. Is there a motion to accept Trish's recommendation to engage with Weston and Sampson on the MVP?
So moved.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll bring it to a vote. All in favor, Bob?
Aye.
Rick?
Aye.
Andrew is aye, and the motion carries. Thank you very much, Tricia.
You're welcome. Thank you very much for your time. Everybody
All right.
stay well.
Enjoy the
healthy,
baseball
Bob.
game. All right.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All
Bye.
right. Bye-bye now. All right, and we are at Greg Bardwell, Chief of Police, regarding request to advertise 2 full-time positions.
Greg apologizes that he's not able to be here this evening, but he had a conflict.
Okay. Did you all have a chance to review his memo to us down here?
I did.
I did, and I read through the job descriptions and things, and I think he did well. And to have everything in place by July 1st, I support the advertising.
Great. Any thoughts or concerns on your end, Terry?
None.
Great. Is there a motion to approve?
I so move.
All right.
Second.
Is there a second? All
Second.
right. The motion has been made and seconded to approve the Chief Bardwell's request to advertise 2 full-time officer positions. Any further discussion? And hearing none, we'll bring it to a vote. All in favor, Rick?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Andrew is aye, and the motion carries. And we have correspondence from the Mass Cultural Council. We've been awarded $187,000, another matching grant to undertake improvements to Memorial Hall Theater upstairs in Town Hall. So that's a project that's been many years in the making. We went after that grant back in 2011 and didn't get it. This time around, we had substantial support from the town in the form of the funding that we have approved. Terry, remind me where we stand with that.
To date, the town has allocated 110,000 of the 150 committed. And when speaking to the funding agency last week, we have to have the full 187,000 in matching funds before they'll even send us the contract.
Right.
I've reached out to Jim Kessler twice to see if Memorial Hall Association has matching funds of any kind, but I've yet to hear from him.
I believe that the Memorial Hall's coffers are rather thin at the moment, but Jim Kessler worked together with Terry to submit this grant application, and so the Memorial Hall Association is fully behind the project and was instrumental in its design. They now need to convene to begin the matching fund capital campaign that they've been talking about for quite a while. So that's really the next step in this process. Other than that, we have public comment. Oh, Cynthia, did
Skipped
you?
over number 7, didn't we? Skip over number 7?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. I was thinking our next meeting is June 5th, and we do have any other business. So I think that's where Cynthia, you come in. We were going to, did you want to, were you bringing before us the insert question?
Right. Yeah, I hope
Okay.
you've all had a chance to take a look at the proposed insert for the tax bill. At one of your last meetings, I think it was when we were talking about the streetlight issue, it was brought up that we really should be having better communications with residents of the town and trying to figure out ways to improve upon that. So I had suggested that maybe if we put an insert in the tax bill that would raise awareness about the various ways people can find out about what's going on in town and decisions that need to be made about, well, about everything, you know, even just attending town meeting would be great. So I put together this potential insert that raises awareness about the phone system that people could connect up to, the town e-newsletter, the website and what that includes, and then various other things. And then at the very bottom, it talks about the street light, the potential for street light weighing in on that by community residents, in hopes that we will have a trial someday that will enable people to indicate their preferences. So if you've had a chance to look at it, I would appreciate you voting to include that in the tax bill insert.
So at the last meeting, again, which I just did as an observer, when this was discussed, there was comments that there was already the required CPA notice that has to be in this next tax bill, and there wasn't room for more. So how did that get resolved?
Yeah, so Angel took a look at it and she was able to combine the CPA insert on the back side of her information. So
Okay.
she said that there was room for one more page.
Gotcha. That was my only question. I like the idea, sending it out with the people footing the bill and telling them all these things that we're up to. Makes sense to me.
I agree and support the letter.
Cynthia, were you able to insert those corrections I made about how to sign up for the e-newsletter?
I did, yep.
Great. And did you contact Joe about the Blackbaud Connect thing?
I did, yep, and he gave me some input on that. He said that he's hoping that people will unsubscribe that are subscribed under their old phone that they've now gotten rid of, that this might spur them on to switch over to their cell phone, and then he might also have a better feel for how many people this actually goes out to, because there's like 1,800 phone numbers on that list, which seems like it might be an overestimate of how many people are actually receiving this. So hopefully this could help in that regard as well.
Good.
And I did make your changes, Andrew, as to how to sign up for the e-newsletter. And
Great.
one thing that you might not have seen if you didn't know that those changes have been made to the final copy is that I also added a connection for the recreation committee. So people who are interested in recreation in town will know where to find that information.
Good. Well, as you know, I am a supporter of getting double duty out of our tax bill mailing. So we did use it a little over a year ago when we, was it 2 years ago when we were just launching the newsletter? So I think that was our first insert in the tax bill mailing, and that did help us get the word out about a new town e-newsletter. And now we're hoping we can build on all of those media for getting people engaged with what's going on in town. And so thank you, Cynthia, for taking that initiative. And is there a motion to include this in the tax bill?
I saw Joe's reply, and Terry, did you have any further input after the second version came out late today?
No, I didn't.
Perfect. So we need a motion to approve this included on
Yes.
next tax bill cycle.
Yeah.
I therefore move that.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? And hearing none, we'll bring it to a vote. All in favor, Bob?
Aye.
Rick?
Aye,
Andrew is aye, and the motion carries.
and thank you for doing that. Good job.
Thank you, Cynthia.
Have it in there. And while you were talking, it also made me realize that I'm not sure if the e-newsletters, like the past issues of the e-newsletters, are actually on the website where people could access those. Are they? Okay, great.
Yes, they are.
Very good. Well, thank you all.
Great, onward. And Cynthia, I did make, while you're here, I did make a quick report of several items from the Energy Committee. But since you're here, I want to just recognize that Cynthia is our staff person on the Energy Committee for the Mass Save Communities First project, which is reaching out to Shelburne residents and businesses to help them access mass save energy efficiency and renewables programs and incentives. And she has been working hand in hand with our mass save contractor, a company called Revise, and they are out canvassing the neighborhoods, handing out leaflets and doing that work. Cynthia, I believe they've signed up 18 people for assessments. Is that correct?
Actually, I just got an update today. Let me pull that up. Should be easy to find because it came in at the end of the day. Yeah, at this point, there's been 14 completed audits in Shelburne. They have 10 that they're trying to schedule where people have reached out, and people who've gotten their weatherization measures already from Revise. There's 2 that are completed and 3 that are scheduled in the next couple of weeks. And there hasn't been any heat pumps to date, but there are some irons in the fire, is what they're saying. So that's through Revise. We've been doing this program for over a year now and just linked up with Revise. So I know there's a lot of people who've already been through the program, but we're having trouble kind of capturing that information. So hopefully that'll come about in the next few months and we'll get a total overall. But some we won't get any word about because they might have gone with a different home performance contractor and they keep track of their own data and don't share it with us necessarily. And I know for a fact that there's a number of residents that did go through those. So it's actually High Street. That's a model street where a number of residents have gone through the whole program already. And Mechanic Street is well on its way to catching up with them, I think.
Great, great. Well, thanks for all that work, and we'll look forward to seeing some new engagement coming out of the tax bill.
Yeah, and you know, if you wouldn't mind taking an extra couple minutes, because we have 2 select board members from Shelburne Center, not the village, it would be really helpful to me to know if you got a mailing at the near the middle of April that had 3 pages in it. There was a letter from the Energy Committee on yellow paper, and there were 2 flyers, one that talked about Revise, because we were announcing that we're partnering with Revise, and the other was for the low income program that we were going to be holding at the end of April to help sign people up for energy assessments. Do you remember getting
We
that?
did. I did.
Because
I did
Did
get it.
you?
It was under the EDDM, Every Door Direct Marketing Postal
okay,
Program,
okay,
and I did get it.
that's good to hear.
I
And
have
Bob,
a
I
vague,
know you,
I have a vague recollection, but April was a blur for me.
yeah, I was gonna say, you might not have connected with that. The reason I'm asking is because I was on vacation when that came out, and I saw the message that went out to the postal office that said, with that batch of mailing, it said, deliver to Shelburne Falls residents only. And I was afraid that that would be interpreted as only the village would get it and not outer Shelburne or rural Shelburne. And I did just learn today that someone on the Buckland side got it. So I was just kind of concerned, not knowing who all got this mailing and who didn't. So I'm glad to hear it registered with you, Rick.
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
Great. Terry, do we have any other business?
Yes, I had expected Whit to sign on this evening, but she was looking for the board's support on a letter. She wanted the select board to authorize you as the chair to sign a letter of support for her most recent grant application for the Buckland Park.
We all got that,
Yes.
right? We all got that in the packet.
I
Yeah.
did see that letter.
Yep.
I was kind of hoping she would be here. She emailed me and told me she would talk about that because I was actually looking for Turnabout being fair play and asking for her support on the Commonwealth Spaces grant, but I will have to follow up with her individually about that.
The piece they sent was very comprehensive, and I didn't see any problem with us supporting it.
Yeah. Bob, any concerns?
No,
Is there a motion to sign a letter of support for the Buckland Pocket Park grant application?
I move we authorize you to sign a letter of support for the Buckland Pocket Park.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
Motion's made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? And hearing none, we'll bring to a vote. All in favor, Rick?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Andrew's aye, and the motion carries. Does that do it, Terry, or is there more?
It does. Nope, that's it.
All right, well, we've reached the end of our agenda. And we will meet again on June 5th. Terry, what's the scheduling for the reappointment of committees and that sort of thing
All that will take place at our next meeting.
on July 5th?
Yes.
June 5th.
June 5th, I'm sorry, yes, June 5th.
I was
Good.
I was looking also forward. I looked on the calendar today and others trying to make plans around vacation and the like. I was recently added as a director for the Franklin First Federal Credit Union, so I'm juggling those meetings. I know we got committees to get set up next week. How far ahead do you project? Because I was looking back and it looked like we were going just every other week as opposed to the first and fourth or the second and fourth or the first and third or whatever Monday of the month. Is there any?
We are
right way
generally
can do
every
it?
other week, yeah.
So it's straight rolling every other week.
Yeah,
So July 3rd, day before the 4th, a Monday? Is that be the one? the
Yes,
first
July
one?
3rd, July 17th, and July 31st.
I'm typically away the week of July 4th, so we could pick another meeting or you could meet without me.
Is that Monday a holiday?
No, because it's
No, the
holiday.
Tuesday is the holiday.
Oh, they don't
Let's
roll
go.
it back to a Monday when it happens that way?
I don't believe so.
Not that
It
one.
only,
Not that one.
Oh, not for July 4th, right, yeah.
Maybe
I mean, the
Columbus.
holiday happens on the 4th, but if it occurs on a Saturday or Sunday,
Yeah.
they'll give the Friday or Saturday, Friday or Monday, the holiday for
Okay,
a weekend. Rick, occasionally we will, like during the summer when things do slow down, we may take like July 3rd off, which makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
You know, we may drop a meeting just because there's not that most of the busy stuff happens.
Yeah, and you got to be kind to me because being the newbie, I don't want to go to a meeting on the 3rd without Terry.
well, without Terry here, we'll be helpless anyway, so we'll.
So we'll consider the 3rd scratched and do 17 and 31 for July at this point.
Yeah, I think we can do that.
Yeah, I think we can do that.
Okay. Good, thank you.
Good. All right, well, if there's no other business, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second,
Motion's made and seconded. All in favor, Bob,
aye.
Rick,
Aye.
Andrew's aye, and we are adjourned. And we will be